Welcome to the Week in Review, the show that brings you up to date on the week that was. Here are the top stories. Sebi allows stock exchanges to list their shares. Coal India gets presidential directive to sign fuel supply agreements. And India could have a healthy monsoon this year. First up, India's capital market regulator has decided to allow stock exchanges to go public. After a board meeting on Monday, it said bourses could list their shares if they fulfill some criteria. For one, the public should be able to trade with 51% of the stocks. Also, no stock market can list on its own exchange. Though the decision goes against the recommendations of the Bimal Jalan Committee's 2010 report, Sebi broadly accepted its other proposals. The Jalan report had said so-called market infrastructure institutions should not be allowed to list publicly. We now move to the government's latest move in connection with Coal India. On Tuesday, authorities pulled out all stops in their efforts to get the company to assure long-term fuel supplies. Coal India was sent a presidential directive ordering it to sign fuel supply agreements with the power firms. The directive even lays down terms and conditions and also tells Coal India it needs to follow a letter from the Prime Minister sent in February. Coal India is under pressure to sign fuel supply agreements because power producers across the country face severe shortages, forcing them to buy expensive coal from abroad. But Coal India also faces a challenge from a minority shareholder. UK-based TCI says the firm is losing out on about $20 billion before tax profits every year because it underprices its coal. In other news, the Supreme Court has made it clear it's not going to review the cancellation of 2G licenses, but it has indicated it's willing to consider the government's plea. On Wednesday, it rejected petitions from 7 telecom firms that challenged the decision to scrap their licenses. It also turned down a separate plea from former telecom minister A. Raja that claimed he was wrongly implicated by the court's ruling. But the government's petition had better luck. The Supreme Court accepted the government's plea to review its order that insisted on auctions for allocating natural resources. The government's petition argued that the Supreme Court ruling ate into its powers and went against existing laws. While the Telecom Ministry under A. Raja gave out 2G spectrum on a first-come, first-served basis, the government later auctioned 3G spectrum. On the other hand, current rules stipulate that mining rights be given out using a first-come, first-served method. Moving to other news, Tata Sons is facing a legal challenge from ex-employees of group firm TCS in the United States. A US federal court has granted the plaintiffs the right to proceed with a class action lawsuit that will allow them to target both Tata Sons and TCS for alleged violation of contracts and labor laws. The two ex-employees of TCS say the firm forced non-Americans working in the country to surrender their tax refunds. TCS says the claims are without merit. And in other news, India's largest car company is getting back into the business of vehicle insurance. It has set up a separate firm called Maruti Insurance Broking for this purpose. The company has also received a fresh license to push car insurance. Maruti used to act as a broker for insurance products until the regulators stopped it in 2010 for allegedly having more FDIs than was allowed. Maruti expects the creation of a separate company will eliminate that problem. And switching to economy, new figures indicate a clear slowdown in economic activity. The HSBC market indices for both manufacturing and services grew sluggishly in March. The Purchasing Managers Index for manufacturing slowed down to just 54.7 during the month. In February, it stood at 56.6. Things were worse for services, which grew at their slowest pace in 5 months. The Business Activity Index for March eased to just 52.3. The previous month, it was at 56.5. And here are some stories in brief. BSC's young managing director is moving to another job. 38-year-old Madhu Kannan plans to join Tata Sons after May. Kannan will be group head for business development and will work alongside chairman designate Cyrus Mistry. The government has come closer to an understanding over the proposed food security bill. The Food Ministry has decided to tweak the rules of the proposed legislation. That means everybody except the top layers of citizens will be eligible to receive subsidized rice and wheat, which means about 30% of Indians will not be covered by the scheme. In related news, Mint has learned the country's Met Department expects a normal monsoon in 2012 with the El Nino effect unlikely to play spoil sport. The Met Department is expected to make a formal forecast later this month. Monsoons account for some 80% of all rainfall, which farms across the country depend upon for water. And that's all we have for you. Thanks for watching.